everyone. Thanks for joining us in our after morning tea session. I hope you all had some coffee and something to eat. This session goes for 2 hours, and it's the second half of a two-session block. If you were at the first session, welcome back. If you weren't at the first session, you've just joined us now, then welcome, and it's really lovely to have you here. I'm Catherine Tattersall. I work at CSIRO in Australia, and I co-chair the OBIS steering group. The organisers of this session are from OBIS and from GBIF, so there's Elizabeth Lawrence from the OBIS Secretariat, Maeva and Meliani from GBIF, and you'll get a chance to see all of us up here during the session. We're really excited to welcome a great series of speakers who are going to present different approaches to community engagement and skills development and knowledge sharing for increased biodiversity data and information aggregation, sharing and use. There is a critical importance to capacity building and globally accessible biodiversity knowledge in addressing the global biodiversity crisis. And that's highlighted in the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, and particularly in Targets 20 and 21. The session that we're going to run through now is framed around questions like how are we taking action to address these priorities, and what are the benefits of capacity development and organised biodiversity data on different scales, and that's from local communities right up to the global networks. We're going to frame this session around 3 topics, and we'll ask at the beginning of each group of talks to have the speakers who are going to talk on a topic to come up and sit on the stage. We'll ask you to give your presentations, and then we'll have a short discussion and a panel discussion if you want. Then we'll move on to the next topic. So the first topic is empowering institutions for better data access and use. The second is about promoting collaborations, and the third is about building capacity for our future. I'd like to remind you, if you need a translation, I think all of the presentations are going to be in English. If you need a translation, there's a QR code on the screen now. So please take a photo of that QR code, and then you can follow on your phone or your device. We will have people online listening in, so if you're online and you have questions, please type your questions into that Zoom box, and we will have someone let us know that your questions come up. We'll ask it to the panel of speakers for you. I think that's pretty much all of the housekeeping, and so I will ask the first 3 speakers to come to the stage. That's Lily Shrestha, Takashi Hasono, and Damiano Ordoni. Thank you for joining me up here. Lily is going to be speaking first, and she's talking about enhancing institutional capacity for biodiversity data mobilisation in the Hindu Kush Himalayan region. This one advances.
Hello and good morning, everyone. My name is Lily Shrestha, and I'm from Nepal. Actually, I'm working for GBIF as Asia Regional Support Team. But today, my presentation will be about a small capacity building initiative that is led by an intergovernmental institution called ECMOD under GBIF's CES program to enhance institutional capacity for biodiversity data mobilization in the Hindu Kush Himalaya region. I was involved in mostly the technical parts of the project, so I will be presenting on behalf of the team. That also includes Dr. Bandana Sakya and Ramesh Katharia from ECMOD. So let me quickly introduce you about ECMOD before I jump into the project. ECMOD is an intergovernmental institution that has been working for the development of mountain, the people living in it, their culture, and and the nature in the Hindu Kush Himalaya region that covers the mountains of Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, China, India, Nepal, Pakistan, and Myanmar. ICIMOD is also working to strengthen the foundation of biodiversity data in the region, mostly through its regional node for GWIF that's called Hindu Kush Himalaya Biodiversity Information Facility, also called HKHBIF. So this was developed after ICIMOD joined GWIF in 2009 as an associate institutional participant. And the head of delegation for this node is Dr. Pema Gamso, also Director General at ICIMOD, and node manager is Dr. Bandana Sakye, landscapes lead at ICIMOD. Before going into the project, I would like to just talk briefly about why we felt that there was a capacity building need in the region. So this I will be presenting through the findings of a study recently done by ICIMOD analyzing the occurrences that has been published in GWIF from the region. So Hindu Kush Himalaya region is a very biodiverse region because of its situation in the confluence of 4 biodiversity hotspots. But it was found that there is a significant data gap in the region, that has been published from the region in GWIF. So when they also analyzed the occurrences that were published from the region, we could see a vast disparity that was from the country sharing the data. You can see India has the highest number of occurrences, followed by China, and other countries are just at the bottom. Although we can see the occurrences there, I would like to mention that Afghanistan and Myanmar does not have any data published till now. And no data set is published, and Bangladesh, Bhutan has very few data being shared in GWIF. Lastly, when we see at the third graph, we can also see that there are very few publishers from the region, but the data about the region is being mostly contributed by institutions outside the region. Also, before the project, ICIMOD did a quick survey to all the biodiversity data holding institutions in the region, about trying to figure out what kind of challenges exist towards data mobilization in the region, why there is a data gap from the region. So, first of all, there is a very limited awareness among the data holding institution about the existing biodiversity data infrastructure and the opportunities that GWIF provides. Some institutions are not just allowed to share their data because of their policy, and some has other priorities, mostly towards ground biodiversity conservation rather than data sharing. Sometimes they do not want to share because they are worried that their data will be used for commercial or illegal purposes, maybe because their data might contain data about sensitive species. And lastly, there is a significant lack of technical capacity in understanding the process of publishing, as well as limited financial resources to digitize and publish the data set. Now, going to the project, this to address some of the challenges that I just mentioned before, mostly on technical capacity, as well as raising awareness about the existing opportunities and data infrastructure, ICIMOD, also known as International Center for Integrated Mountain Development. They are leading this project under GWIF's Capacity Enhancement Support Program in collaboration with Chinese Academy of Sciences, Forest Action Nepal, Geological Survey of India, and National Biodiversity Center of Bhutan. This project is scheduled to run from December 2024 to November 2025, and there are 2 major activities within the project. The first being a regional on-site training in data mobilization for building the capacity of institutions, and second, in-country webinars that was led by the participants in the regional workshop, basically to share the knowledge that they have acquired during the training. So talking about the regional training, first of all, a call for application was opened, where we received 190 applications from 5 Hindu Kush Himalaya countries. So we can see there was a need for capacity building, but we could only select few participants. So we selected participants basically depending on their interest to mobilize the data, if they are already ready to share the data, and also if they want to share the learnings that they acquire from the workshop in form of a country webinar. So if you see by the numbers, as I just mentioned, we could only invite few participants because it was a fully funded on-site training at Kathmandu. So although we had 190 applications, we only invited 14 participants from 5 Hindu Kush Himalaya countries: Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, and Pakistan. And the training was based on GBIF's biodiversity data mobilization course, first developed in BID, where participants were introduced about the process of data publishing in GBIF. But apart from that, they were also introduced about how they can access data for use, as well as introducing them to the global registry of scientific collections. Apart from publishing their exercise data sets based on the course, they also published their real data sets during the training on the third day of the training. So as a result, 9 new institutions were registered as a GBIF publisher, 17 data sets published containing around 5,000 occurrences. In addition, they also suggested update or addition of 26 GR cycle entries about their respective countries, which were later reviewed by GR cycle editors and mediators. To extend the outreach of the project to a wider network of data holding institutions, participants from the regional training organized in-country webinars to share the knowledge that they learned during the workshop. The first one was led by participants of EQMS Consulting and Noakhali Science and Technology University of Bangladesh with around 40 participants. Second one led by participants of National Biodiversity Center and National Mushroom Center with around 50 participants, and that was Bhutan. And the last one led by Asoka Trust for Research in Ecology and Environment from India with around 100 participants. In Nepal, we decided to do a different approach because we were on site. So we decided to have an on-site national consultation event that was led by the participating as well as collaborating institution Forest Action Nepal. So they invited around 25 biodiversity experts from government, NGOs, and academics, basically to discuss on the prospects and challenges that lies towards data mobilization in Nepal. So apart from sharing the knowledge from the training, we basically discussed on scope, interest, and challenges towards data mobilization in the participating institution as well as other key data holding institutions in Nepal. So while some of the institutions were willing to share the data, they were not able to share it instantly because of some challenges, similar challenges that I discussed before, because of their institutional policy or ethical concerns, and mostly due to technical capacity, lack of technical capacity and financial resources. But fortunately, some of the institutions were ready to share the data, and for which we will be providing support through the project. That is still to be done. Lastly, we also discussed about the possibility of Nepal's participation, which was already initiated before because they were government representative in the event. So as an encouragement to the participants for contributing open access data and for sharing their knowledge to a wider network of data holding institutions, we provided them with a digital badge recognizing them as a HKH Biodiversity Data Champion. And this idea, I would say, was inspired by the badges GBIF gives out to the course participants and volunteers in the community. The champion will also be highlighted in HKH BIF hosted portal, which is in the process of development, and this is something Esimode plans to continue even beyond the project for encouragement. So in my last slide, I would like to briefly summarize the outcomes of the project. So we trained around 12 biodiversity data holding institutions within HKH and tried to reach out to more wider network of biodiversity data holding institution through in-country webinars. We also got an opportunity to interact with the scientific collection community because they were representative from natural history museums. And importantly, we initiated or followed up on the discussion of national participation in GBIF with some countries like Bhutan, India, and Nepal. And lastly, through already published data from the project and the interest that we hope we have generated in the data holding institutions towards sharing the data, we hope the project will result in increased data sharing and use from the region. Through this small project, I believe we could only make a limited impact, but there is a lot of scope for filling the data gap that exists in HKS as well as Asia provided some mechanism or program is developed to support data mobilization in the region. Mostly in terms of financial resources, I would say, because for the technical capacity, we have been working, Asia Regional Support Team, me with my colleagues Vijay and Melissa, to support data publishers in the regions to guide them through the data publishing, to bridge the technical gap, basically. Thank you very much to listening to my presentation. Any questions or comments, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you so much, Lily. As I said, we will have time for questions, and it'll be just after these three speakers have all spoken. Takashi Hosono, you're our next speaker, and Takashi is talking about which data products from the OBIS platform effectively engage local governments.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Takashi Hosono from Japan. I'm a member of OBIS Japan node. Today I want to discuss what data product from OBIS platform effectively engage local government. My key message is active promotion of data products is more suitable for local government agency, especially from the perspective of better data access and use. My talk today will cover these 5 points. I will start by reviewing my current capacity development effort. Then I will look specifically at the operational context of local government agency. And following that, I will consider implication of AI. This lead my key message. Active promotion of data product is the key action. Finally, I will share a practical example of this approach, which we proposed to the Yokohama City government in Japan. To begin, let's quickly look at the current capacity development approach. The current method typically involve providing a comprehensive manual sample R script and running training courses and workshops. The target audience for this approach often span various skill levels: high-level audience, basic level audience, and intermediate between them. However, this structure prompts us to ask, what skill level should we assume for local government agency, and what approach are more appropriate for them? When we focus on local government agency, we must recognize their unique trait. They have field-oriented expertise, and they have often long-term monitoring data at the local scale. Crucially, they are not pure scientists, and they have critically limited working hours available for complex data analysis. Given those traits, we should assume an intermediate skill level. Considering their limited working hour, a different approach might be more effective than the conventional one. With the rise of AI, working with Darwin core data is becoming easier. Instead of writing R script from scratch, user can now instruct AI by providing the data and describing the desired output. And AI then will generate the code. If local government staff can identify the data products they need, this approach may engage more active data use. That is, they shift from the simple data provider to data user. And this brings me back to my key message today. Active promotion of data product is more suitable for than capacity building for local government agency. I will now present a practical example of this strategy, which we collaborated with the Yokohama City government in Japan. The Yokohama City government already published 3 data sets in Japan. In our practical example with the Yokohama City government, we wanted to determine which product attracted their interest. We showed several potential outputs, including interactive map, gridded map, a multidimensional scaling plot for visualizing community shift and analysis related to water temperature warming and species loss. Especially, they responded to the last product. The water around Yokohama City is experiencing rapid warming, and species composition are changing. To better understand this change, it is effective to combine their data with ORBIS data. Using ORBIS R library, we can extract temperature range for each species. By comparing species summer limit with local temperature condition, we can explore a possible reason for species loss. And we can identify species near their survival limit. After presenting these products, the Yokohama City government began analysis for bivalvular species using their own data and global ORBIS data. This demonstrates the power of product promotion. This is the final presentation, and I want to say a small sentence. Given their active engagement, I think the next time I meet them will be the best time opportunity to introduce ORBIS manual and training course, because the manual could help them take full advantage of the ORBIS resources. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much for your presentation. It's wonderful to see what you're doing in Japan and how it works with the rest of the ORBIS network. We have one more speaker in this block, and it is Damiano Aldoni, who is going to talk to us about serving a sustainable coding community, the INBO Coding Club. After Damiano speaks, then Elizabeth Lawrence will come up to lead the discussion on this section.
This one? Apply? Okay. Yes, great, thanks. Hi everyone, my name is Damiano Aldoni. I'm a research software developer at the Research Institute of Nature and Forest in Belgium. Our institute is an open data and open science institute. It's important, I think, to say in this context. This is the INBO Coding Club core team. Imagine whoa. Yes.
Yeah. Can we return to the start? Okay.
Sorry.
I think this has to happen to one speaker in every session, and you're the lucky one.
Yes. Back? Yes. Ah, yes, something. Yes, I see it. It's thinking. Well, meanwhile, think about a place where everybody can sit in a room, programming together, no problem, gender, race, age, level of, senior, junior researcher, no problem. Everybody together. Well, this is the coding club we are organizing in our institute. Who we are? We are just researchers creating a coding club for researchers. The idea is to sit together, programming together, and learning from each other. We survived a pandemic, but most of all, we survived the post-pandemic. You know, everybody sitting at home and wanted to stay at home and never get out of it. Well, for a coding club, it was crucial because otherwise, yeah. And I thought, everybody wants to go to the coding club? No, everybody stay at home. Well, we survived it. Okay, great, thanks. We launched it in January 2018, so we have already 8 years of experience about that. And we organize it every month. Okay, it's not working. What we learned from this coding club, from this experience? Well, few very lessons. First, learn together. Learn from errors. That's very important. There is no club without interaction. As live as possible, as remote as necessary. So we sit together, but if you stay at home because, you know, for whatever, you cannot get to Brussels, for example, well, we are in hybrid format. Okay. Then, okay, as my institute is moving on, our coding club should move in as well. So young researchers are better in R, so we cannot give the same topics that we gave in 2018. So we have to evolve with them. So the idea is, for example, to allow participants, coding club members, to vote and to choose which is the topic that you want the next month. So, for example, in next Tuesday will be a coding club about R Markdown your report. As you see, they vote it, they choose. And of course, continuous feedback. I don't send a form, you know, they know where I am and they know their core team, so they can just tell us what they think about. I'm almost there, but can you get next one? No. So if you, by the way, if you are interested to organize a coding club in your institution, come to me and we speak about that, or maybe in the discussion. I'm really glad to speak about that. Thanks. Maybe if you can show the last slide, maybe there is just a QR code so you can get the slides and this website of the coding club. Just that. Thank you.
Well, thank you for to all of our speakers, and apologies for the technical difficulties. All right, so we have a discussion period now. Do we have any questions starting from the audience for any of our speakers? And have any questions come up online yet? No, okay. Yeah, so we have a question there. And then you guys, yeah.
Hello, I would like to ask Takashi Hosono-san. I think your presentation is very inspiring. I would like to know your institution's role to help Yokohama City to develop these skills. How does GEMSTech help them? Thank you.
Yokohama State government already have the certain level of skill, so we don't need much more anymore. And just saying you can use these products and you can use AI, and AI can help your coding. It's very easy.
Okay. And we have a question. Yeah, great.
This is for Damiano. With the coding club, are you using any specific lessons to teach each other to code, or do you come up with a scenario and then everyone figures out solutions? Or I think it's a really great idea, your club.
What do you mean with lessons?
Do you have tutorials that you're using, or do you
Yes.
all look at a solution?
Okay, yes. The idea is me or some colleagues prepare some challenges. We have 3 challenges plus bonus challenges for the nerds that want to get further. So we organize some challenges and they have times to, so for example, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Typically it takes 2 hours and a half. and it is organized on Tuesday or Thursday, alternately each month. Yes. So we have exercise, and we publish everything online. Yeah, it was maybe lesson 5 that I didn't speak about. Everything is open, and maybe you just get there. Yes, everything is CC BY. So data, slides, video recordings. I cut the 25 minutes, for example, of pause, so you can just get the discussion afterwards, where we discuss together the solutions. Also, more important, don't start from the solution that you have. Start from a solution of a participant. So there is a HackMD, so just a markdown document online where the people can put their solutions. I copy paste in my R studio, I show, and we discuss together how I did or how they did and what was the best. It's nice, yeah.
I have a question from our participant online for Damiano as well. The question is, although this is an institutional coding club, do you invite people outside your institution to join in or present?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's an IMBO coding club. We were thinking to get globally, to expand to the entire world, but that would destroy the life dynamic, you know. But we invite not only people from our institute, also PhD students linked to our institute are allowed to come, and anybody who wants to come and to send me an email, typically, as long the balance live remote is not completely, you know, for remote participation, I accept everybody. Especially, for example, we work in a different European projects. All partners, our institution, partner of this project, if they are interested, they can come to us. But also, the idea of the coding club is to also to replicate the coding club in our institutions. So that's also the idea. Yes. But yes, we invite as many people as possible, as long as it's live. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Great. Do we have any other questions from the audience? Yes.
Hi, I have a question for Lily. It's really cool how you mobilize all these data set and have all these new publishers. I wanted to ask, do all the publishers host the data themselves, or are they somehow hosted by a different organization? How is that done? Do you know?
Was it about the data sets hosted by the publishers?
Yeah, so you
Sorry,
you mentioned you have like a number of data sets.
Yes.
Where do the data live? Like,
Actually, EasyMode has its own IPT, but that was somehow not working at that time, so we just used Asia IPT to publish the data set. So it's in GBIF, but through Asia IPT. Later on, we just want to maybe switch it back to the HKSBIF IPT, but they are data sets from the publishers that actually participated in the training.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Nice. Oh, yes, yeah.
Thanks. Just to build on what Lily was saying, we do have cloud-hosted IPTs for the regions in GBIF. So if someone wants to publish data and does not have access to installation of the IPT either within their institution or their node, they could use a regional platform for that, and there's technical support to help. And if I can, I have one question. It was about the really interesting point you were making about the engagement of local government through the data products. And I was curious if you saw that engaging them through the data products also resulted in more willingness to share data, again, from the local government level into OBIS. I was curious about whether the engagement in the data use was leading to wanting to share more data. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm not a good English speaker, so I cannot understand fully. I want to talk later after this session. It's okay.
Okay, yep, we can take it after the session. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Do we have other questions? Yeah. Oh, there's one online? Okay, fantastic.
Okay, it's also a question for Lily. What strategies are you using to try to overcome institutional reluctance for sharing data?
That's a difficult question. I mean, we basically try to convince them that this is for a good cause and nobody is going to, I mean, we hope that the data is not going to be misused or things like that, but I think apart from trying to convince them, we cannot force them to publish. So, yeah, I'm based in Nepal, and I'm working for GBIF as an Asia support team. So I try to reach out to the institution and just explain about the benefits of sharing data for open access and the existing opportunities that is there in terms of the platforms that GBIF is providing or the technical support that we can provide. Sometimes I just volunteer to, work through their data sets myself. So that's what I try to do, but yes, I think we can only encourage them.
If I can add something about this, well, in our institute, well, there is a GBIF open policy brief for Be Cubed about why should you get to GBIF. And there was a nice, good points about why should we share data. I think it's very important. It's been translated in some other languages. In Italian, I did it, and in Greek also. But I think there was an economical study sharing how much profit, direct and indirect, you get by sharing open data, biodiversity open data. Yes.
Great. Okay. I think yeah. So thank you so much for our set of speakers. We're going to move on to the next theme. So this is going to be, yeah, so I'll invite you to return to your seats. Thank you. Yes. And the next group of speakers will be speaking on the topic of promoting collaborations. And so I'm going to invite Clara, Theor, and then we have one remote presentation, which will be Robert. Okay. Yeah, so Clara is going to be presenting first, and she's going to be talking about datathons, regional collaboration to reuse microbial biodiversity data.
Okay, thank you. How I
Yes.
this?
Okay, yeah, so the time is there, and
Yeah.
then that should
Here.
advance, and that's
Okay,
the pointer.
yeah, thank you. So, hi, good morning. Thank you for being here. I'm Clara, I'm from Colombia, so I'm very happy to present this project here in my country, but I'm going to present a project that I'm working on in Germany. The title is Datathons Regional Collaborations to Reuse Microbial Biodiversity Data, and this is a team project. I'm going to introduce them later. So, just to put you in context, most of you work mainly with this part of the tree of life, but in this presentation we are going to focus in the domain of bacteria. Bacteria are the most diverse and widespread organisms on Earth, and they play essential roles on ecosystems. So, but despite advances in sequencing technology, most bacterial diversity had focused on northern hemispheres. I'm going to present some global analysis. And when they say global, you can see the gaps in the south. So we can see that these gaps are mainly particularly in regions like Latin America or in Africa, that they have high risk of biodiversity loss due to human activities. So Stephanie Jorbock, that is the mind behind this project, she started a very cool database that is MyCoda. She had a good presentation on Tuesday morning, so if you didn't see it, I'm going to talk about this database. Stephanie created this first version of MyCoda, and she realized that there are some gaps, in the south. So she created the project that is called, I'm going to pronounce this title once because it's very long, but I'm going to say ZipTets long in the presentation. is illuminating blind spot through equitable data reuse practice in the Global South. So the CIPTEX project, I'm going to present this project here because maybe you can learn some things and maybe also you can like share your experience. But this is a very cool project because we are not, we just don't want to get a lot of data and then in Germany publish a lot of papers alone. This is a project that also wants to involve the people who is sharing the data. So has three main components, that is the training, the data, and then the collaborations. So the first part, the training, I'm going to explain what is a datathon. A datathon is a 3 days project when in the first day the people attend several talks related to synthesis and how to reuse data. And the second day, the people share the data. So the researchers that already has the data in NCBI or they don't have the data in NCBI, we give support to them to they upload. And the idea is that they improve the metadata because we already know that from microbial communities in NCBI, we have a poor information of the metadata. And the third day of the datathons, the people connect and they start to ask questions to the database and they create working groups. And the idea is that they also start to publish with this new data that they are sharing. So Stephanie already started this in 2022. She started with the datathon in Argentina and Uruguay. There is already a published paper. All the people who share the data is co-author of this paper. Then I participate as a researcher in the Latin American datathon. I share my data. And then I participate in the staff of the African datathons. And I'm going to show you how many people participate. You can see in different colors people from the datathon of the Uruguayan and Argentinian, then the Latin American Africa. And you can see the different levels. There are PhD, masters, and in different levels of the academic path. And in the B part of the figure, you can see to which countries they belong. Okay. The photo, Santi, I don't want to come back because maybe I have problems with the presentation, but Santiago was our Hibi that helped us a lot. With these people, they participate, but also we get all the emails, so we have a big email list of Africa and Latin America, and the idea is to share PhD, postdoc opportunities, and also courses. You can see some courses of CIPTEX. We train them in synthesis, in statisticals, and we have a YouTube channel that you can check when we are putting all the information of the training. And then the data, of course, this is like the main part of the project. So the people share this data, and I want to show you the impact of these datathons. So Stephanie, at the beginning, has these numbers of data in Latin America, but after the datathon of Uruguay and Argentina has this number, and then in the Latin American has this. So you can see through these activities how we can improve the information of this place that we don't have like so much information. Also the CIPTEX project, so we got all this information, and this is the first version, and the idea is to update and do the second version, but we face some challenge. Stephanie already presented this on Tuesday. There is a lot of data that is archived in NCBI or in ENA, and they are not reusable. So the CIPTEX project also is designing tools to improve the metadata and to check if this sequences data works, because most of the data you don't know, for example, what kind of primer they use, what kind of part of the gene they are aligning. So the CIPTEX projects also design tools to improve the metadata, and this metadata is going to the MyCoda database after that. So I'm going to present the second version of MyCoda. You can check here the database. We have Stephanie create, with the help of IDIF, a good platform I want to apologize now because maybe the platform is not working this week because they are moving the cluster to other cluster, but you can get the link. And this database has 31,000 samples and these numbers of taxa. And the good thing of this database is not like it's big, it's also that the people who doesn't have the capacity of their computers to analyze this data, they just can download the ASB table, like the species table already with the metadata and the taxonomy, and they can analyze it. So also teachers or people in university can use this platform to work with the students, for example, yeah, and don't do the computational like part. Well, like, yeah, the pipelines and all the part of the cluster. So also, we are very excited here in Living Data because this week we upload this database in GVIV. You can check this, and this is the biggest eDNA data set in GVIV. We are very thankful to Tobias and Thomas that give us a lot of support to upload this database. And the good thing with this database is like you can compare all these microbes between them because they were processed in the same way, yeah, with the same pipeline. So the final part that is like, maybe you are like more interested in this part, that is the how the people that share the data got engaged with us, and it's the part of the collaborations. So after the datatons, when the people share the data, the idea is to still continue working with them. So we were working with them after the Latin America dataton for 1 year, and 1 month ago, we have the pleasure to invite them to Germany, and we work with mathematicians. So this is very cool also for me because most of them, and also me, we were working in our labs with, yeah, you know, with our experiments in one point, and now we have the capacity to do like global analysis and work with people that help us with models. I never worked with models, for example. So we are very excited because we are like improving like also the capacity of these researchers in Latin America to make better like science. So I'm going to introduce them. This is Sabrina. Sabrina is making a synthesis in global soil microbiome. Is leading. Yeah, she's the leader, but there is other people. Vanina in global zoonotic bacteria. Eva in South America freshwater microbiome. Gaston in global rhizosphere microbiome. And Enrique is making a bacterial classification tool. So all these people, they are from Mexico, Argentina, Uruguay, from Colombia, and yeah, we are really excited to this opportunity because most of the time we just share our data and just that. So, but here they are like learning how to, yeah, how to do this global analysis in a better way. And just to finish, I want to show you the, I don't know, the unique opportunity that this dataton gave us. Remember that it was the first map that Stephanie had in the Mycoda B1 in the first version, and this is the second version. So when you want to do an analysis comparing, for example, the north with the south, in the previous version, you have a not equal, you know, richness, and the comparison is not going to be like fair. But then when you have this map, yeah, with more information, you can see that we are going to have a, like a better, you know, approximation of the patterns and interpret in a better way the diversity. So I want that you keep in mind that the CIPTAD projects want to have more data, of course, but also want to train, to share the data open, but to share openly, to collaborate with the people, and also to answer important ecological questions worldwide. So I want to thank Stephanie, that she's the leader of this project and the mind behind everything. Santi, that is our Hibi, that help us with the mails and with a lot of stuff, with the metadata, and all the people in Germany in different labs, and the CIPTEP, and people from GVIV, Tobias and Thomas, and well, Finally, this is an advertisement, the next Datathon is going to be in China, so if you have people, collaborators in China, you can share this paper and share with them. Also, in 2027, we're going to have the polar datathons, so people who has data from the Arctic or the Antarctic, you can write an email to contact my colleague. And finally, we are doing a survey, so if you work with metabarcoding, with microbiomes, please fill this, or if you know people, please share this information. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Clara. All right, so our next speaker is Thori Engel, and he's going to be talking about to involve data and stakeholder diversity for biodiversity.
Which one is this?
That's the pointer, and then the green is to advance.
Great. Hi, everybody. My name is Tori. I'm a postdoc at IDIF, the German Center of Integrative Biodiversity Research. And I'm in the group Biodiversity and People. And I'm presenting these slides on behalf of my boss, Aletta Bonn, who couldn't be here, unfortunately. And in this little 5-minute presentation, we want to share our experiences with our growing stakeholder network and community engagement with some of the projects that we're doing in our lab. In particular, we have one project, NFDI for Biodiversity, which is the national research data infrastructure for biodiversity in Germany, where we're doing a lot of data mobilization and so on. And the other project is called ESMON, which is a project on more the monitoring and the biodiversity trend analysis side of things. And with these two projects, we're both tackling similar communities to get results for biodiversity. So in Germany and probably in other places too, of course, there are a lot of different institutions that are engaged in this biodiversity landscape. We have 16 federal states that all have their own nature conservation agencies. We have natural history societies, research organizations, and so on. And with these projects, we're trying to kind of bring them all together and integrate data and make them available and use them. This is also reflected in our consortium of NFDI for Biodiversity, this national research data infrastructure, where we're working in this big team of research groups and institutes, but also expert and citizen science group, government authorities, natural science collections, scientific ICT centers, and so on. And some of the people on this consortium are also here this week. And in particular, this is a very interdisciplinary work, and we approach biodiversity from very different perspectives. And it's been challenging, really, to find a common language and to work effectively together. So how do we try to do this? Often when you talk about data or biodiversity data, we approach things from this side, kind of. We talk about the data, the taxonomy, the, sampling scales and the protocols and everything. Or maybe we talk about the technical design, what data standards and what infrastructures and so on. But it's very important to realize that the data that we work with belong to people, right? So we really need to get these people on board and the different communities that manage and collect the data. And so in our work, we're trying to kind of move from this way over there to kind of start with the stakeholders and design our products based on their needs. So this is one example, or like one paper that Aletta and some colleagues wrote about how one could go about forming such an interdisciplinary network. I think I don't have time to read all of this, but I think the most important part is to really listen to your communities and tailor solutions to their needs, really. Yeah, and this is also what we're doing with the NFDI for Biodiversity project, where we're also organizing these stakeholder events and workshops. to come up with solutions for data mobilization, research data management, monitoring, and so on. And we organize training and education. Yeah, lastly, we're a research institute, and of course, we care about research data, but we care even more about analysis and patterns in biodiversity. So with the ESMON project, we have been able to produce a lot of spatial temporal trend analysis with the data that we're mobilizing from these different societies. And importantly, when we write these papers for instance, red list assessment and so on, we work very closely together with these experts. So we try to have the results not only data-driven, but we want to incorporate the expert knowledge of the people that go in the field and do the monitoring, that know the species, and they have been great in commenting on the model results and kind of validating whether this makes sense or not. So yeah, this is all from me today. So with this, I want to thank you, and I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you, Thori. So our next presentation is online, and it's going to be by Robert Kuby, which is Digitalizing Botanical Archives, Collaborative Workflows for Enhancing Accessibility, Integration, and Research Across National and International Collection Networks. And after this presentation, I'll be handing over the moderation to my co-organizer, Mahiba.
Good evening. I'm not sure what time it is there in Colombia, but here in Scotland, it's evening. This is a lightning talk on digitising botanical archives, collaborative workflows for enhancing accessibility, integration and research across national and international collection networks. It involves the recent work of the RBGE on the collectors database and efforts to digitise, transcribe and mobilise that data set. That's why we're starting with a photo of George Forrest in China standing outside his tent with a plant press. So we start in 1670. A physic garden is established near the Palace of Holyrood House by Sir Andrew Balfour and Sir Robert Sibbald, with James Sutherland employed as head gardener to develop the garden. The purpose of the garden was to supply fresh plants for medical prescriptions and to help teach medical botany to students. But by 1675, the garden had outgrown its original size and its original site by the palace and moved to another site in Edinburgh, and in 1683 published its first catalogue. Alongside the garden itself, there was also a growing herbarium. In 1838, the specimens of the Royal Botanic Society of Edinburgh were transferred to the University of Edinburgh and incorporated with its university herbarium. This then combined collection was moved to the Royal Botanic Garden in 1863. In 1942, a large part of Glasgow University herbarium, formed by Walker Arnott, was received on permanent loan, and this significantly expanded the RBGE collection. Alongside the collection of plant material, there also started records of people who were collecting the plants, and these records recorded on a card file. This led to a 14,000 card database of the plant collectors. This was stored in wooden cabinets, as can be seen on the right. Here we have a card from the collection. We can see the collector's name, top left, some idea of dates and collecting sites, some sort of notes on where a reference to the collector can be found, and on this one, some sort of details of some sort of ambiguity, and sometimes we have different collecting partners. This works okay, but with prolific collectors, we quickly run out of space and go on to multiple cards. Here's a card set for Friedrich Richard Rudolf Schleiner. His herbarium is very important because his original herbarium was destroyed in the bombing of Berlin in 1945. But as we can see, across the cards, the data is very unstructured. Some of it's written in botanical code, and links to the literature are not standard. And to make matters worse, physically the handwriting is often unclear and sometimes written in pencil. So onto the card project itself. I started off on the institution's own high-throughput copy scanner machines, but this did not work. These machines are set up for document scanning and not card scanning. I ended up blocking and jamming the machines so many times. These machines are also located in public areas of the RBGE. So for many staff, and they're designed for many staff members to use. Me hogging the machines and jamming them up made me unpopular very quickly. So I very quickly moved to bespoke scanning machines that are designed for cards and can scan the front and the back of cards at a rate of 30 cards per minute. In an effort to keep project costs low, I sourced the scanner on eBay for about £30 with £30 delivery. This machine jammed much less, and as it was based in my office rather than the main body of the institution, it made jams much easier to clear. I then enlisted some volunteer help, first with James Cuby, my son, who was lying around the house during a summer break, and then when he went back to college, another volunteer called Magnus Peacock, who was between college courses. All this data resulted in about 20,000 image files, the front and back of each card, and that was about 20 gigabytes of data. The images are numerically named by the scanning software and end with a suffix A or B, depending on the front or back. So front and back images could be separated. We ran the cards through the traditional OCR software, both Abbey and Tesseract 10, but the results did not warrant further investigation. The output was unstructured gobbledygook. The OCR really struggled with the nature of the data and the handwriting. So a decision was made not transcribe the whole card, but to find a way of accessing the data on the cards. So a basic citizen science, community science transcription project was set up with our partners at Digivol to transcribe just the collectors' names from the cards, and all other data was optional. This built on previous transcription missions we'd run at Digivol around a living collection and around the transcription of data on our herbarium specimens. The projects or virtual expeditions, as they're called in Digivol, all use an eye-catching illuminated letter to try and engage the audience. There's very little branding or bespoke design, just an image of the garden and a logo. Here's the data capture screen for the transcription, with only one required field, the surname of the collector. From October 2024 to June 2025, the volunteers transcribed the data from 10,000 cards via the online transcription site. This data is now downloadable, and as you can see, the volunteers noted down a lot more than was required. They tried their best to decipher the notes on the cards as well, which is fantastic. So what I'm going to do with all this transcribed data? I'm going to start off with using OpenRefine to call Wikidata IDs from Wikidata, where appropriate, and then I'm going to start using some large language models on AI tools to try and recognize collectors and look for typographical errors or differences within the data set. Hopefully that's going to get the data as clean as possible, and once it is, I'll be attaching an image of the card to an agent record within our herbarium collections management system. All the data and images are recorded in a Zenodo project called Lists of Collectors in Natural History Collections. We're also working with a PhD student from the University of York to try and find out some of the motivations, some of the positive and negative aspects of volunteering via a community science program. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you to all the presenters. I think that there were a lot of very great examples on how you set up collaboration across communities and really help engage a large amount of different people to help advance open science and get more critical data for analysis and knowledge, really. I just want to say that Robert Kirby is online, so if you have any question for him, please don't hesitate to ask, and he will type the answer and we will read the answer. So any question for our presenters for this blog? I think Elizabeth has one.
This is for Clara. So really cool to see that mobilization of the microbial data. I was just wondering, so all that data is going to GBIF. Is the marine species? Because I noticed there were several points going into the ocean. Do you know if those are also being mobilized to OBIS? Oh, yeah, it does.
Okay, I can speak like this. No? Yeah, okay. Yeah, that is a good question. We were also talking that with Stephanie because there are, maybe that is like the same sample could be in OBIS, yeah, but we upload like the whole database because we analyze it in a different way. So these samples, for example, even though could be in OBIS, because they are from oceanographic campaigns, we just take the data from Dara Ocean and Malaspina, for example. So maybe they are already in OBIS, but this database, the sample is different because we reanalyze it differently in order to compare with all the soil and freshwater samples. Yep.
Thank you, Clara. Another question? While you're thinking, I'd like to ask a question to Tori. It's quite impressive the number of different institutions and community you are communicating with and engaging. And I wanted to ask if you have any, how do you approach the communication? How do you design specific communication to specific audience, or do you have a way to have generic communication that can still reach every audiences?
So in the NFDI for Biodiversity project, am I audible? Yeah. I mean, we have the luck that we have a lot of sub-communities in the consortium. So we try to have, you know, the barcoding people talking to the barcoding people. And maybe I'm more in the citizen science world, so I communicate with the citizen science people and the natural history societies. And then we also have now some of the government institutions in our consortium, and they are also active. So we're really trying to have, because it's so messy and big, like we need to focus our communications on small subgroups, and then some people are in charge of that, and yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any question from the audience online?
No,
Okay.
no, none online, I think, but not yet.
So actually, I'll take the privilege of being the moderator to ask another question for Clara. If people want to be involved in a datathon, what would be your recommendation for that?
Well, next year is going to be in China, and the activity is going to be hybrid. So the idea is people from China share the data, yeah? But for example, if you are not from China and you also want to share your data, you can contact us by email. And there are people who are doing that. For example, we just met people from Ecuador. They couldn't, for example, upload the data from the Latin America Datathon, but they want to reanalyze the data with the global database. So they just can contact us, and maybe we can like analyze the data and share, so we can make like collaborations. So, and that data in the next update of my coda is going to be, yeah, it's going to be there, and also in the update of GBIF.
Okay, so even though the datathon has a specific geographic scope, everybody can really...
Yeah, the idea is that we increase the data, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I don't know if other question for our presenters. Seems that you were very, very clear. Yeah?
I just wanted to say we have a similar session this afternoon called Best Practices to Mobilize, Integrate Local and Community-Based Data to scale biodiversity impact. So you're all welcome to also, if you want a third part of this kind of symposium, come this afternoon at 2 to Valle. Yeah, thank you. And thank you all for organizing.
There are questions for Rob in the chat.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, let's please connect the online participants. So there was a question for Rob do you have examples of how your cards have been used for current research about historical changes in biodiversity? And I think Rob is just typing an answer to that. In the meantime, there was another question. Rob, do you know if any other institution, I'm thinking of Kew in particular, has a card system similar to the Royal Botanical Garden, Edinburgh? And Rob has replied that the Natural History Museum are also doing work like this and have a presentation on using AI to do so. So yeah, thank you, Rob, for joining us online, and thank you for providing written responses to the questions. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. So now we are going to start our third topic on building capacity for the future. So thank you, Tori and Clara. And I would like to invite Vijay Bharve, Aude Albrighter, and to join us on the stage. And we will also have a video presentation by Wai Yin Kwan. So our first presentation will be by Vijay Bharve on counting on citizen, unveiling butterfly diversity through 30-minute counts.
Okay, good morning. I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the work that we have been doing with, obviously, butterflies. Yeah, if you know me, I just love watching butterflies, so I will just talk about how we are trying to promote a little bit of systematic butterfly counts rather than just watching butterflies in India. So a little bit about the kind of history of how research has been happening in India. So from early 18th century, there have been some British collectors mostly. They were not really scientists, but they were army people or some of the engineers there who have been working in India and also collecting and writing about Indian butterflies. So there were some really good kind of foundational taxonomic work done by those people. And then there were also in the kind of middle of 20th century, again, there were more Britishers, and kind of their work started flowing into the post-independence era, how kind of recording butterflies and creating some, again, monumental works on all the Indian species. Later in the 20th century, as Indian scientists started exploring and looking into, several books by Indian authors started coming out where they were all studying butterflies either through the government agencies or sometimes through some of the non-profits. And in last 10 years, I would say, there are more, so to say, citizen science activities getting together. Butterfly India is one of those groups, Indian Foundation for Butterflies, and that kind of initiated the Big Butterfly Month that I'm going to talk about. Also, other things happening, like some data has been flowing into GBIF through iNaturalist, or some of the researchers are now publishing. There have been some new discoveries in last 10, 12 years in the biodiversity hotspots of Western Ghats and northeastern India, the Himalayan part. And now, recently, some molecular work is also kind of started. So that's a little brief of how the research has been happening in India. And so about 6 years ago, in 2020, me and some of my friends, we initiated this activity called Big Butterfly Month. We thought that butterflies need a kind of focus, and we can kind of bring all the enthusiasts together to talk about butterflies, to go look out butterflies, and at some point actually start doing some serious work with butterflies as citizen scientists. So this is a completely kind of citizens initiative to mainly celebrate and enjoy butterflies. But in the background somewhere we want to sneak in some serious work, some kind of citizen science work to be part of that. So when it comes to data collection, the easiest thing is just the point records, occurrence records. People take pictures and put it on iNaturalist, or we have a local portal, India Biodiversity portal. So people do that, but we always wanted to also have a little more than that. And we started this butterfly count. So these are basically very simple 30-minute counts where you don't have to follow a track or anything, but just count in a time-limited fashion and try to also document abundances rather than just spot record. So that's the main purpose of this survey. And then what we have been doing is promoting this, teaching people, and getting some kind of structured data so that it's I mean, on one hand, it has to be really easy to follow because these are all non-scientists, students, sometimes even families, who are familiar with butterflies because they have been watching butterflies, posting them on iNaturalist, learning about them. But it also should generate some useful data. So that's the kind of midpoint that we have been trying to find here. And then how to engage people, because this is something new. People have been just watching butterflies, maybe making some notes, but how to teach them to count. So we had some social media channel, we had a kind of network of people, network of organizations who were becoming part of Big Butterfly Month. So we started kind of promoting it through that. We started teaching the methodology. Remember, it is year 2020, so it was just like post-COVID. People were still not sure whether they should go out in groups. So we did all the initial training on Zoom. So we took actually phones and cameras in the field and showed how to count butterflies. We fortunately had good cell coverage there, so we could do it. And then we recorded all that, shared it on YouTube, and then people started watching it. Then we had follow-up question answer sessions because sometimes just the video is not enough for how do I do this, how do I do that. So we did that. And then we just came up with a very simple spreadsheet-based format and shared with people and said, okay, you just try it out, fill it, and send it back to us. And just to kind of sweeten the deal, we said, okay, at least we will kind of recognize you if you submit counts. We recognize people, we recognize region from where more counts are coming, just kind of so that everyone in India knows, oh, okay, the other state is doing well, maybe we should be doing something. So that's how we basically promoted it. And then after getting the data, how do we do it? So we just created a specific email address, so everyone was sending the Excel sheets to that. We just downloaded all the Excel sheet attachments, dumped into a folder, and then I wrote a R script to just read each and every file and kind of compile all the data into a big spreadsheet, which was about like 5,000 records, and then we had all this data together. And then after that was done, obviously some basic quality checks, whether all the names written make sense or not, and are all these butterflies, or have people tried sneaking in some birds and other things into that, and all these things. Then after all that cleaning, we converted into Darwin Core. We also reached out to people because initially we did not think about it, obviously, got their ORC IDs so that the data records when we publish on GBIF are linked to the proper citizen scientists, and then we publish it on GBIF. So that's a kind of brief data workflow. And this is the data set for year 2020 that we published, and it's it's already, you can see it's already got 6 citations in 1 year, so that's really good. People started looking at it, so this is the kind of countrywide coverage of where the data is coming from, all the points, and just a little summary. We had 369 actual forms that people submitted, and remember this is only for 1 month of September, and we actually taught people how to do it in the beginning of September. So it's effectively just 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, people, there are 122 people or teams participated in these counts. There were about 5,500 occurrences, and out of that, about 5,200 were actually identified at species level, which was good. We were not hoping that that high number will come. And there were about 360 taxa, so including species and sometimes genus or family level. That was that's how much data we got in our first year. And then what we are thinking, what are the challenges kind of going forward? Why, how we can kind of make this better? So one thing is for sure that just making iNaturalist record, you see a butterfly, you photograph, and that's it. It's much easier. But if you have to do these counts, you have to commit to 30 minutes. You also need to have some basic identification skills, because iNaturalist, you take a picture, you post, someone else is going to identify it. But if you are taking a count, you need to at least know, if not species, what genus it is, so that it makes sense. You can't just have everything counted as a butterfly, right? So you need to have some segregation. So people with at least some basic identification skill. And another thing we realized that people were not familiar with this methodology. People were just watching butterflies. So kind of emphasizing them, saying, okay, this is something that you need to be following. It needs a little more commitment, but then there are certain benefits, like the data can be used in more than just spot records. So that was a challenge, and now slowly people are realizing it. And then what we plan to do in future. So one of our team members actually has developed an app to do this, so that we don't have to send them Excel sheets and receive them back and do all the thing. The app is storing the data locally, as well as also storing it in a central location, so that we can just download that data and use it. And since last 3-4 years, people have been doing these counts, but only in that month, because we are promoting that. Now the plan is to promote the counts throughout the year, so that we have like actually a good data set for the complete year, what's happening year round. So that is second thing. And other thing, we are always working on improving our data workflow, so that the data curation as well as the data publishing at the end of it should be easier for us, and we don't have to spend a lot of time working on that. So yeah, that's thing. And basically the conclusions that we came is GBIF data publication, it really made data really more visible, accessible. You can see there are more than 3,800 downloads already of this particular data set in some form or the other, and there are already a few citations that have come through. And then also we're thinking that after publication now, citizen scientists are kind of, okay, my work is getting some visibility. If I look up my ORCID, I can actually see what records I counted. So that is a kind of working as some kind of incentive, and more people are now participating, and now they are asking, okay, tell us when you want to take more counts, and when and where, kind of thing. So that's a good thing. So yeah, that's all. If you want to look at the data set, and if you want to try out the app, these are the QR codes for that, and yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vijay. I will now invite Aude Arbiter to come and present on building capacity in open and reproducible science for the next generation of ecologists through the international plan functional traits. Thank you, Aude.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm going to talk about the plant functional trait course, which is an international field course that we have developed over the last centuries. No, not century, decade. So global change is impacting ecosystems, biodiversity, and livelihoods, and mountains in particularly are threatened by global change, and they provide biodiversity and important ecosystem functions and services. And so understanding how global change impacts alpine ecosystems is important to develop sustainable nature-based solutions to safeguard nature and people. However, generating this knowledge is often hampered by the lack of data availability and also researchers with the necessary skills and training. And so one solution for this is to train scientists in these skills and also to collaborate and share data and methods. And so what we did is that we developed this plant functional trait course, which is a hands-on training course in trait-based ecology. We go to different mountain regions and collaborate with local scientists and relying on their expert knowledge from the system. And in return, we provide an intensive data collection campaign. In each of those regions, we prioritize local students for these courses, and we are using an active learning approach to teach the students how to be a good scientist. And so I want to go through a couple of the main kind of ideas of this course now. So in the course, the students participate in a real research project. They collect high-quality research data. And this makes the students more engaged in the project and in the course, and they also gain ownership of this data. And for this, we developed something that we call the trait wheel, and that's this table that you can see on the picture that has different stations where the students learn different measurements of leaf traits, and so they rotate through this table and learn all these different measurements. And then once they can do one of the tasks, they become an expert in that, they get a little sticker, and then they can also teach the other students. And we've had several students that came to the next course, but not as a student, but then as a teacher. We also teach how to process, manage, and share data. So we use standardized methods to collect data. We teach them code-based data processing. And then we also publish the data as data papers, and the students are part of this whole process. So they manage the data, they write the data documentation, and then they're part of those papers. And because we collect real data, the students gain ownership of this data. And so we encourage them to use the network from these courses to collaborate with each other to gain collaboration skills. And we have developed this mechanism where the students can then propose an idea for a manuscript, and this idea is then assessed by the course leaders and approved. And so this has led to a number of student-led papers from the data from these courses. So this is just a few of them. And so through these courses, we've had 7 courses so far, and we have trained 180 students from 30 different countries in trait-based ecology, but also taught them other important skills like open and reproducible science. And with this, I would like to thank all the students that have participated on this course and all the teachers. Thank you.
Thank you all. And for our last presentation for this session, it will be a video presentation by Wai-Yin Kwan on teaching community scientists how to analyze iNaturalist data using R. If you have any question for that presentation, please save it because the presenter is online as well, so he will be able to answer your question. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Wai-Yin Kwan, and my presentation is teaching community scientists how to explore iNaturalist data using R. In typical community science projects, we have community scientists collect data, researchers who analyze data, and then the results are published in publications. A little bit about me. I'm a lifelong learner who has turned 2 hobbies into careers. As a highly curious, informal learner, I tried a couple of community science projects, but I wasn't completely satisfied. And in 2024, I partnered up with the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County to provide an alternative type of community science project. And one of the museum's largest community science project is the City Nature Challenge. City Nature Challenge is a week-long event where people from cities around the world are asked to use iNaturalist. City Nature Challenge started in 2016 by the California Academy of Science and the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County. When I partnered up with the Natural History Museum, our main question was, what if we give community scientists the opportunity to look for answers to their own questions? So we developed two workshops where we taught community science how to do basic analysis of Los Angeles City Nature Challenge using R. The 2 workshops were held in February of 2025, and over 90 people signed up, but we only had 30 spots. So in the first workshop, we taught people how to create maps and charts using R. And in the second workshop, we had the participants present their results. And these are screenshots from actual projects. So the projects came into basically three types. One was some people were interested in looking at particular species. They might be looking at specifically one species, like coyotes, or they might look at a group of species, like amphibians and reptiles. Second type of project was place-based. For instance, we had one project where someone wanted to look at all the iNaturalist observations in their neighborhood park. We had another project where we had some participants who worked at a nonprofit, and they wanted to look at all the iNaturalist observations for their nonprofit. And the third type of project was people wanted to look at their own observations. Some lessons learned. This was the first time the museum had offered a workshop to teach community scientists how to analyze data. And the main lesson that we learned was that, yes, community scientists want to analyze data. And in our workshop, we had people from different backgrounds. Some of them, majored in science in college and did a little bit of coding, and some of them had never coded before and were not science majors. And we learned that for both groups, that it was really important for them to be given the opportunity to explore their own questions. And some topics of discussion In order to make science truly open, we need to make science open to those who do not have degrees. And that projects that rely on community scientists to collect data for researchers but don't give community scientists the chance to explore their own questions and their own interest is another form of parachute science. That we need to reform community science so that we can honor the knowledge and curiosity and rights of community scientists. And because GBIF has so much community science data, GBIF should take part in this discussion about the rights of community scientists.
All right, thanks to our wonderful presentations in this session. I'm Meliani Raymond, and I'm here to do the final part of the discussion moderation. So please start thinking of your questions for any of our three speakers, and also if there are people online. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much for your talks. I have a question for you. It's very inspired, the project. But I have a question. You say that you publish, every time that you do a course, you do a data paper, yeah? So how works if you come back to the same place? So you do like second version of the data paper, or how that works like for that? Thank you.
I think it's on.
Okay, thanks very much for the question. Like that these data papers are a product of the course, this has kind of been a development over time. And so after the first course, the output of the course was a little report by the students. But then we realized this is not very useful and nobody reads those things. And so we started to think about better ways of making outcomes for the course. And so the idea was to like go to one place only once, but then, for example, in China, we went back because there was a lot of species and more data to collect. But then we combine the data in one data paper. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Yes, there's one more here, please.
Hey, I'm Souza from Bulgaria. So my question is for Odd. I also have a question for Vijay, so can I ask both at the same time? Or?
Yes, yes, you can.
Okay, thanks. So first for Odd, my question is, how can you be invited to other countries, or do you set invitations?
That's a question we get all the time. So for the moment, we don't have any funding for the courses. We had like this funding from Norway to combine science and teaching, which was ideal for this. But so at the moment, we're trying to do something with the data and publish papers and do science. But the idea is to have more courses and yes, come and talk to me.
Okay, yeah, I definitely would. And for Vijay, you showed some challenges you had, but I see also another challenge which I want to ask you about. What about how much time one needs to invest to engage the community and to keep them engaged? Like, could you give some estimates, for example, for people who would like to start such a thing? Because I think if you're volunteer, it's your volunteer work, right? So I think people should know how much they need to throw in it, how much time.
Yes, it is a little difficult question for me to answer because I have been organizing this Butterfly India community since 2001. So at least in India, a lot of people now know us. They are part of the whole process. So for us, it has been pretty easy because we just tell, okay, this year we are going to do counts. We say, okay, tell us how to do counts. And We just had to organize the trainings because that was new. Hardly anyone had actually was taking these 30-minute counts, and so that was the training, and that part was a little difficult. And people, since they are all all know each other, that community recognition part was also very easy. Say, okay, I will be recognized, saying I have done so many counts, or my state is doing, or my district is doing so many counts. So in that sense, it was easy. So from August till end of September, me and our team, we typically spend maybe 10 hours per week doing these things, if you really need the time estimate.
Okay, thank you. Another question from the audience? Yeah, Tora.
Hi, I also have a question for you, Vijay. It's really cool that you're mobilizing all these butterflies. What role does social media play in India for like sharing butterfly pictures and stuff? I'm asking because I have a colleague from Bangladesh, Shaun Chaudhry. I don't know if you know him, you probably know. And he's been mobilizing these massive amounts of butterfly data from Facebook and other sources and putting them on GBIF. Is there something similar going on in India? Or?
Yes, so in India, again, we started, as I was saying, 2001, we started with an email group, started sharing butterfly pictures and learning about it. Because that time there were no recent books available, and all the old books were out of print, so it was difficult to get any material. That's where we started it. And I think 2008 or 9, we started using Facebook mainly to do that. But then we quickly realized that data has a shelf life. It kind of disappears or becomes really, really difficult to look for. And around 2012, 2013, we slowly started promoting India Biodiversity Portal and iNaturalist. So anytime a person asks a question on Facebook, we'll say, yeah, we'll give you the answer, but why don't you also post it on one of these portals so that it remains there accessible for a long time. And to the question of mobilizing data from Facebook, a couple of years ago, we presented our work on spiders of India. So we have, like butterfly community, we have a spider community. And we have mobilized about 16,000 records just from that Facebook group. So, but that was more time intensive because we had to put people to actually go through each Facebook post, make a sense of it, make sure that those records are identified to a certain level. So we had a couple of spider taxonomists involved in that, and we actually curated that and published that data. And you will find the abstract on biodiversity informatics this thing. So it was, I think, 2 or 3 years ago we published the data set, as well as we have published a extended abstract in this. So, and I'm happy to talk more.
Thanks. I think we have an online question, so I'll hand over to Maeva.
Yes, we had an online question for Wai-Yun, and she answered as well. So the question was, have you published your workshop resources anywhere? If you have, are they openly licensed for reuse? I've never used R, and I'm keen to find a project to inspire me to learn. And Wai-Yun Kwan answered that they put their lesson online. They used a particular computer setup for the workshop attendees, but she offered other setup options. And then she shared the GitHub repository for the resources, but I think if you're interested, I encourage you to contact her directly so that she can share these resources with you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? If not, I might just have one question that is for both of you. And I think I'm reflecting and listening to all these 3 talks about the importance of recognizing skills in building community. So you talked, Vijay, about how you were recognizing skills both for individuals and through region, trying to get a bit of regional competition and recognizing the contributions. And of course, you also talked about the importance of training people up, and then you would have experts that were recognized with their stickers. And I just wondered if you had any reflections on this idea of recognizing skills, and whether there are ways that we can take this idea into other projects that people might be working on. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, another thing we are doing is just giving them digital certificates of participation, and it looks like a lot of people are keen to get them and share them on social media. So that is one thing that we have seen has been useful. And once in a while, if we are able to find a organization who's willing to sponsor, typically we have been sending them either butterfly books or some kind of small token gifts, and they are also then they take a picture with that and post it on social media. So that has been working pretty well.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if I'm answering the question correctly, but for us, I think the idea was that in a normal field course, you can actually teach the students a lot of other skills, not only this one thing that you're focusing on. And I think this can be applied to other courses as well, not only field courses, but other teaching, that you add little elements of other things to teach the students like skills to become scientists.
Great, thank you. Last call for questions. Yeah, one from Catherine, right? Laura and Catherine, yeah.
Not really a question, but a comment that I really liked your training wheel that you used for the traits, and also that you encourage the students to become trainers in the next rounds of the courses. I think that's fabulous.
Yeah, maybe I can just say something quickly to that. It was more like a thing that I did on one of the courses, that I printed these little stickers and made a little book for them to collect stickers, and then the students got really excited about collecting stickers and becoming experts and so on. And then later we found out that this is actually a teaching method. That this is a way of how the students can be involved in active teaching, and so.
Thank you. Since we've got you both on the stage, I guess I wanted to take advantage of the panel format and ask you, given that you've got experience in different parts of the world and different communities, but with the same objective of mobilising biodiversity data, whether in listening to each other there were things that were surprising about what the other person was doing, or whether there are things that you'd implement around what the other person was doing. And of course, our speaker online, if you're listening, if you've got anything, I know it's a bit tricky to tie that in. I know that they're very different formats, but sometimes it's really interesting to think about what we can learn from each other when we are, working in really different spaces.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe something that is maybe not different but similar is that we maybe both work with you with citizen science and I with students, and I guess one challenge is to make sure that the data that is collected has high quality, and I guess we sort of face this challenge in different ways, but yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that we have been talking about, discussing, but not yet there, is publishing some kind of research article or a data paper, and we'll probably try to learn some lessons and try to take it further. I mean, there are some research articles which have come out from these communities, but they are more with scientists saying, oh, this is a new record for this region or things like that, but not really synthesizing the data together and kind of coming out with some common research questions and output. So that is what we are thinking about it for some time, but not really have a breakthrough yet. So yeah, definitely more motivation for us from her to do that.
All right, thank you very much. I think we can wrap up the discussion session now. It's been wonderful to exchange experiences, and thank you both for your presentations and the panel, and also to our online speaker. Okay, so I am not going to spend a long time wrapping up the session because I have another exciting event that's going to happen at the end of this, which was announced in the plenary. And this is going to be talking about the collaboration between GBIF and OBIS. Of course, we've collaborated on organizing this session, and it's been really wonderful working with our colleagues at OBIS to organize this. And thank you for all the speakers and all the great questions and participation in our session. So I'm really pleased to see there's more people filtering into the room now, because we are about to formally renew our partnership and sign a letter of agreement. So I'm going to read a statement here so that I don't wander off track. Today, the Ocean Biodiversity Information System, OBIS, under the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission, IOC of UNESCO, and the Global Biodiversity Information Facility, GBIF, are renewing their partnership, signing a letter of agreement and reconfirming their joint strategy for marine biodiversity data 2025 to 2030. This agreement supports our commitment to make marine biodiversity data more interoperable, accessible, and actionable for science and decision-making from local to global scales. The OBIS-GBIF joint strategy sustains a shared vision between our two organizations, aligning objectives across two key areas to 2030, technical collaboration and community and capacity development. This collaboration ensures that the best available fit-for-purpose marine biodiversity data is accessible to relevant end users and respect the fair and care principles, and deploy efforts to secure long-term data preservation, resilience, and the ongoing sustainable operation of their programs. We are proud to continue this ongoing collaboration between our two organizations, which represents our commitment to achieving the goals and targets under the Global Biodiversity and Ocean Governance Framework, as well as the UN-led global programs and projects. With this joint effort, OBIS and GBIF aim to make high-quality biodiversity data available to the end users who need it the most, and support conservation efforts for a healthier ocean globally. So now, with that, I'd like to invite Joe Miller, who's the GBIF Executive Secretary, Liam Lysett, who's the Chair of the GBIF Governing Board, and Catherine Tattersall and Dan Lear, who are the OBIS co-chairs, as well as Ward Appletons, who is the head of OBIS, onto the stage for our formal signing of the joint strategy. And I will shift hat into photography mode and get a photo as well. So thank you.